In the vertical self-management center, Goreng wakes up to find himself in a stark concrete cell marked with the number 48. The room contains only a bed, a sink, and a hole in the floor, which his cellmate Trimegasi refers to as the pit. Their cell, like hundreds of others, houses two prisoners who go by assigned fake names determined by the management. Each day, food is delivered on a platform lowered through the hole, allowing only 2 minutes to consume as much as possible before it descends to a lower floor. Those on lower levels have fewer opportunities to eat. Additionally, at the end of each month, prisoners are shuffled and relocated to different floors. When Goreng first encounters the food platform, he decides to forgo eating, preferring to leave the food for those on lower levels. However, Trimegasi, his cellmate, spits on the table, suspecting that others above them do the same. Goreng opts to save an apple for later, but soon realizes that keeping food is against the rules, as the cell begins to swelter from the heat. He must dispose of the apple or risk burning to death. Reflecting on his decision to enter the facility voluntarily, Goreng recalls his pre-incarceration interview, during which he signed a document acknowledging his inability to leave until the agreed-upon term expires. Each prisoner is allowed to bring one item, and Goreng chose a copy of Don Quixote. He has committed to spending 6 months in exchange for an accredited diploma. The following day, Goreng again refuses food from the platform, prompting Trimegasi to question the value of Floor 48's allocation to him. Curious about Trimegasi's background, Goreng learns that it all began with a television purchase. Trimegasi had bought a remarkable knife advertised on TV, only to see a newer, better version promoted just days later. This incident left Trimegasi so enraged that he grabbed the TV and hurled it out the window, accidentally killing a passerby. Given the choice between a psychiatric hospital and the pit, Trimegasi ended up in the vertical self-management center. He had descended as low as floor 132, but he knew there were even more levels below, because he could see them from his vantage point. Unfortunately, no food reaches those lower levels, and spending a month down there isn't too bad, but consecutive lower levels pose a serious problem. Goreng, fearing the possibility of descending further, attempts to communicate with inmates on other floors, urging them to ration their food, but he is ignored. Trimegasi signs by urinating into the lower floor, showcasing his defiance. He also reveals that he chose to bring the knife he bought from the TV advertisement as his one item. The next time the food platform arrives, Goreng finally begins to eat. He also witnesses someone from the upper levels fall through the hole, a common occurrence, according to Trimegasi, who expresses the futility of attempting to address the issue. Trimegasi shares stories of his experiences on various floors and mentions that they will be cellmates next month. Goreng realizes that cellmates are kept together during shuffling, and finally comprehends that Trimegasi had consumed his previous cellmate when they were on lower floors. As the platform returns, Mihuru is seated upon it. Goreng grows concerned for Mihuru when he notices her injured state, but Trimegasi advises him to disregard her. Mihuru descends through the hole once a month in search of her missing child. Tragically, she resorts to killing every cellmate she acquires, hoping to increase her chances of being paired with her child the following month. Trimegasi speculates that the person they witnessed falling through the hole was likely one of Mihuru's victims. Unlike Mihuru, Trimegasi claims he has never killed anyone. He simply consumed the body that landed on his floor. When the platform descends to the next level, the other prisoners attempt to exploit Mihuru. Despite Goreng's protests, Mihuru swiftly dispatches them and returns to the platform. As the month draws to a close, the prisoners are rendered unconscious by gas and reshuffled. Upon waking, Goreng finds himself tied to his bed on floor 171. Trimegasi explains that he restrained Goreng because he is younger and stronger, necessitating Trimegasi's self-defense. Screams echo from other floors as prisoners react to their new placements. And when the platform arrives, not a crumb of food remains. After 8 days, Trimegasi declares it is finally his turn to procure some sustenance. Ignoring Goreng's pleas, Trimegasi uses his knife to extract meat from Goreng's thigh. However, before Trimegasi can consume it, the platform arrives, bringing Mihuru with it. Remembering Goreng's concern for her, Mihuru attacks Trimegasi with his own knife, freeing Goreng in the process, and handing him the weapon to finish Trimegasi off. Goreng loses consciousness afterward and awakens to find himself back on the bed, with Mihuru having bandaged his leg using a piece of bedsheet. She is now consuming Trimegasi's flesh. Offering some of the meat to Goreng, he hesitantly accepts. Mihuru also provides him with water before departing on the platform without saying a word. In the following days, Trimegasi's decaying body attracts worms, providing Goreng with additional sustenance. However, Goreng begins to experience hallucinations, perceiving Trimegasi's ghost, judging him as he consumes the flesh. At the end of the month, gas fills the cell, and Goreng dreams of being with a woman while Mihuru watches. Upon awakening, he discovers a dog licking him. To his astonishment, his new cellmate is Imogiri, the woman who conducted his interview when he volunteered for the prison. The dog is the item she chose to bring with her, and they find themselves on level 33. She also volunteered for this situation and had no knowledge of the deaths occurring here. According to her information, there are 200 levels in total. When Goreng expresses concern about the limited food supply, Imogiri suggests that if people only consumed what they truly needed, the available food would be sufficient. Goreng dismisses the idea of spontaneous solidarity as absurd, though he briefly considers whether the death of a child could prompt change. However, Imogiri asserts that company policy prohibits individuals under the age of 16 from being involved. When the platform delivers their food, Imogiri consumes only what is necessary and shares some with her dog. She then prepares 2 additional portions of food with the intention of passing on a message of cooperation to the lower levels. However, her efforts are futile as the other prisoners disregard her plea. Goreng points out the administration's disinterest in fostering solidarity among the prisoners. Imogiri is dismayed by Goreng's perception of all administration as negative, citing her own experience of working for them without encountering issues. Goreng responds by highlighting Imogiri's privilege in choosing her cellmate due to her former employment status. Imogiri persists in her attempts to ration the food each day, despite being consistently ignored by the lower levels. 2 weeks later, Goreng grows weary of Imogiri's persistent efforts and threatens to contaminate the food with waste if the prisoners don't comply with her instructions. Faced with this ultimatum, the prisoners begin passing Imogiri's messages down to the lower levels. Sometime later, the platform descends with an unconscious Miharu aboard. Goreng and Imogiri tend to her, while the dog snatches some food. After the platform departs, the temperature in the cell drastically drops, prompting Goreng to chase after the dog to retrieve the stolen food before they face consequences for breaking the rules. Later that evening, Goreng relinquishes the bed to Miharu and sleeps on the floor, only to wake up to the sound of the girls fighting. It emerges that Miharu killed the dog and consumed him for sustenance. The following day, Miharu departs on the platform. Goreng shares with Imogiri Miharu's quest for her missing child, but Imogiri reveals that Miharu came to the facility alone 10 months ago. She was an actress without any family, who volunteered much like Goreng. Imogiri expresses remorse for sending people to this harsh environment without fully understanding its severity, all while battling cancer for the past 3 years. As Goreng tries to encourage Imogiri to eat something on their last day on floor 33, he finds her too despondent to leave her bed. The following morning, Goreng awakens to find himself on floor 202, indicating there are more levels than Imogiri had been aware of. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Imogiri takes her own life using her bedsheets. Trimegasi's hallucination reappears, accompanied by Imogiri and her dog, urging Goreng to consume her body. Goreng struggles to resist their persistent voices, distracting himself by eating pages from his book and marking the passing days on the wall with a plate shard. However, hunger eventually drives Goreng to cannibalize Imogiri, with Trimegasi's guidance on where to make the cuts. After some time, the next shuffle occurs, and Goreng finds himself on floor 6 with a new cellmate named Baharat, who brought a rope as his chosen item. Baharat is enthusiastic about climbing to the top using the rope, and he asks for assistance from the prisoners on level 5. Despite their initial agreement to help, The inhabitants of level 5 betray Baharat by defecating on his face as he climbs, causing him to fall. Goreng manages to catch him, but the rope is lost in the hole. As they eat their rations from the platform, they are forced to endure the disturbing sounds from the level above. As time passes, the hallucinations of Trimegasi and Imogiri reappear, offering their commentary on Goreng's progress. Trimegasi praises Goreng for his resilience as he nears the end of his sentence, while Imogiri reminds him of the necessity of proactive change. Inspired by this, Goreng devises a plan and enlists Baharat's help. They decide to ambush the platform armed with makeshift weapons crafted from a broken bed, intending to enforce rationing of food to ensure everyone receives a fair share. Goreng estimates there are approximately 250 levels based on his observations from floor 202, making their goal feasible. Jumping onto the platform, they head to level 7, where Goreng emphasizes the importance of withholding food until level 50 and beyond, where prisoners are in greater need. Baharat initially hesitates due to his friendships with the lower-level prisoners who assisted him during his ascent. However, after Goreng asserts the importance of their mission, Baharat reluctantly agrees to assist in maintaining order and preventing premature food consumption. Together, they proceed down the levels, issuing warnings and threats to ensure compliance with their plan. As they progress downward, Baharat is surprised to encounter Brambang, an elderly figure he deeply respects. Brambang acknowledges and supports their efforts, but warns that the administration lacks compassion and won't be moved by their actions alone. He suggests that the workers on level Sarah might respond differently, indicating the need for a symbolic gesture. Baharat and Goreng settle on using the untouched panna cotta, as this symbol due to its association with luxury and indulgence. Continuing their mission, they guard the dessert vigilantly, while intimidating others to prevent premature consumption. Upon reaching level 50, they begin distributing rations, eliciting immense gratitude from the recipients. However, their journey takes a grim turn on level 97, where they encounter a sick elderly man and a mentally disabled boy. Despite Goreng's attempts to offer assistance, the boy reveals his intention to kill the old man for food. Moving forward, they encounter a floor with only a corpse, likely where Maharu had been. The platform bypasses this floor due to the absence of living individuals, indicating Goreng's earlier calculations were incorrect, and there are more than 250 levels. On the subsequent floor, they encounter two men assaulting Maharu. Despite the challenging encounter, Baharat and Goreng manage to overpower their assailants, but they arrive too late to save Miharu, who has already been killed. Goreng wishes to mourn her, but Baharat urges him to move on, pulling him back onto the platform before it departs. They continue their descent, distributing food to the prisoners they encounter, though many floors are populated only by lifeless bodies. Eventually, the platform reaches level 333, seemingly the last floor. Initially appearing empty, they discover Mali, the missing child, hiding under a bed. As they approach the child, the platform starts descending again. Goreng urges Baharat to throw the untouched panna cotta into the hole, but Baharat hesitates. Surprisingly, there is no punishment from the environment, and after much deliberation, Baharat finally gives the panna cotta to Mali. The three of them remain on the floor, haunted by the memories of Trimegasi, Imogiri, and now Miharu as well, as Goreng reflects on their journey and the resilience they've shown in the face of adversity. As Goreng wakes up, he finds Baharat succumbed to his injuries. When the platform returns, Goreng takes Mali with him as they descend to floor Sorrow. It's a dark and empty space. Trimegasi's apparition appears, urging Goreng to disembark because he isn't part of the message. Together, they watch as the platform ascends with Mali, hoping she will reveal the harsh reality of their situation to those above, particularly the abusers. I hope you enjoy that movie, and thanks for watching it.